Okay, Dave, 3 more points on the board in midweek with a good all-round polished performance. I suppose a little disappointing you didn't keep that clean sheet, but I just want to talk a little bit about how satisfied you've been with the defending in the last 3 games since you had to rejig your back four through the suspension of Perry.
Yeah, fairly satisfied. You lose your captain and influential player in the team, such as Perry, then it could always upset the apple cart. But then, you've got to remember we develop our players not just to play in one position usually. Sometimes it is the case, but not. Luke Offer can play in a number of positions. Harry Pickering can play in a number of positions. Ollie Finney can. Tom can. All in midfield. Them last couple, but we can play in different positions. Owen Dale can. You might be unfamiliar with him for a couple of for a couple of games, but at the same time, they've played enough games there during their development years to know what they're doing. So we're going along nicely, like I said to you after the game, but there's still more to come. Still a lot more to come from this team.
And just talking about your 2 central defenders, we spoke to Ollie Lancashire after the game. He said it's a delight and a pleasure to be involved in such a technically good team of footballers. And he's come back, hasn't he, Ollie Lancashire? Exactly how you would have hoped. If he's not a young boy anymore, he's a senior pro, and he showed a great attitude towards getting back in the team.
Yeah, sometimes in your career, you go through spells where it might not be, all rosy in the garden, if you like. And the best thing you can do is roll your sleeves up and keep trying and keep working hard. And hopefully, your luck will change at that football club. And if it's not, it'll change it. It'll be another football club. But you'll have kept, you've kept your development up. You'll have kept on top of your game. You'll have kept your levels up. And that's what Ollie's done. And he's got his chance. And at the minute, he's playing ever so well. So credit to him.
And Omar Beckles in the team was one of your summer signings. He's been around a bit. What are you getting back from him? What's he feeding back to you? Because he seems as though he just thrives and loves it. He just seems as though he enjoys, as soon as that whistle goes.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Omar probably hasn't played in the team the way we play. In possession, I'm talking about. Out of possession is the same. He's a defender first and foremost. Head it, clear it, do your defensive work. But then after that, I thought against Northampton, I thought it was terrific. Why? Because I think that poly kind of performance was alien to him on the ball. He was the one that was starting all attacks off. He wasn't giving any of the midfielders. He was the one that was stepping into midfield and having to pick and make a good decision to keep the ball and start the moves off. So, and he did that really well. Certainly, halfway through the first half onwards, I thought it was terrific. And that's probably might be a bit alien to him. That might have been the first time or only a few times previous to that where he's had to do that. And that's what I said to him. I thought it was a really impressive performance. Would he have done that 3 months ago in the first game of the season? I very much doubt it. Why? Because he had some habits. I'm not saying bad habits. I'm just saying he had some habits from where he'd been previously in his career. Now that's probably what he's been told to do at other clubs, and what he had to do at other clubs. So to pick that up in such a short space of time and be able to be, hit 2 or 3 unbelievable diagonal balls off his left foot, and you go, that's a real credit to him, and he picked some telling passes out. So when he was playing the ball into midfield or further up the pitch, they were invariably the right decision, and that's part of his development. Even at 29, he's still got some development. If he wants to go and play higher, then he's got to do all that side of it and develop on that side of it, and he's at the right place to do that, I have to say.
I want to expand a little bit, if we can, on sending out players on loan. It's something that your supporters keep an eye on over many, many years. They go when they could go to watch the academy. They show interest. They show interest in your players going out on loan. And I'm going to just pick up on two. One I know in Dale, who had a couple of loan spells and is performing well. And the other one is Ollie Finney, who had a loan spell and it didn't quite work out for him. First of all, for you as the manager, how much of that is a big part of your management that their development comes right?
Huge. If I don't get that, if the player doesn't get that right with help from us, then ultimately my job's infinitely harder. Weeks, months, years down the line. It's as simple as that. For me, when I first got the job, I thought there was a big vacuum between our academy players and the first team. And maybe we got ruled into a false sense of security that saying the 23s football was preparing the players well enough. I've never really been a big believer of that. It is part of the development, so don't think it's not. But if you're a scholar now, you should be trying to get into the 23s team, certainly second year scholars. First year pros, yes. But then when you become in second year pros, you should be the best player in the 23s. And if you're the best player in the 23s, you've got a chance of going out on loan. But you need that loan spell between 23s football and the first team. It might come in your first year pro, it might come in your second year pro, it might come in your third year pro. But you need it because men's football, there's so much more emotion, there's so much more physicality in terms of contested duels. You know, we've all seen 23 games where a lad gets brought down and should get sent off, and the referee just gives him a yellow card, and it's 11v11, and you don't get used to playing against 10 men, for example. You know, it's just an easy one. Or, you know, it's sort of a game of you have the ball, we have the ball. Well, first team football at any level doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. You have to, you know, if you're keeping the ball, you're having to keep the ball. You're earning the right to keep the ball as opposed to being given it up, which is sometimes what happens in 23s football. So it's a huge part of their learning process, a huge part. And we're grateful for clubs like Witton and Curzon Ashton and FC United and Nantwich for taking Kidsgrove, you know, to name just a few around here that take our players. We're really, really grateful, and we've built up some really good relationships with managers and officials at those football clubs. And there's some really good people. There's some really, really good people at them football clubs. So, you know, it's important that when I say successful, whether our players go and play the games or play a couple of games or crash and burn, that they learn from it. And, you know, we've had plenty that have gone and played 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, maybe because the manager just wants him to cover in a suspension, which is fine. But then they come back and they go again, and they aren't half better second time around and better equipped. And then a month later, 2 months, 3 months later, they come back and they go, I think I know what it's about now. They've still got two levels, 3 levels, 4 levels to play, you know, to get into our first team. But they understand the first team environment, and that is huge. It's massive. And, you know, you look at Finney and Dale and Offord. Willie Escalante had about 6 loan spells over 3 years. You know, they've all, even Perry went to Hyde many, many moons ago. You know, so it's important. It's really, really important.
Brilliant. Well summed up. That's exactly what everybody would have wanted to hear about it, because over the many, many years there's been, as you say, literally dozens and dozens of players have gone out on loan. Let's look to the more immediate future. It's AFC Wimbledon, and it's a team that seems to have found the feet, Dave, since they've got into League One. They tick along very nicely.
Yeah. They're one of those teams that, when I say unremarkable, I mean that complimentary. I don't think many people write any nice words about them, but what they do is fantastic. They're obviously a terrific football club, some really proud heritage, which is why we're looking forward to going back to their new ground, their old stomping ground, if you like, Plough Lane. And they're, you know, like I said, they're a community football club. That's why they want to be in their community, and that always gives me a sense of joy if you like, because you know that they are doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for the fans. So, you know, Glyn Hodges, obviously, he's a good guy. And they've got some good people at that football club. So hopefully we don't make them too happy tomorrow. But, you know, we're looking forward to seeing a new ground and some maybe unfamiliar faces. It's a team we haven't played for a while. But we need to keep on our good run. So, yeah.
Just one final point. Have you got any memories of Plough Lane? It's one of those. No, I think we've all been saying the same.
No, I've never been. It's one of the few grounds I've never been to. And obviously, because it's a new one now, I've definitely not been to it. I never went to the old one.
So, as you say, plenty of character in that club. It's all about you, though. You're on a great run, and fingers crossed you can end up an excellent week if you can produce a performance and get another result.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it 4 unbeaten in the league, something like that? If you include the 0-0 at Hull, which I thought was a terrific performance, you can stick maybe 4.5 in. So, you know, we're doing all right at the minute. We've had a tough run in terms of matches. But then, like I said, after 10 games, we had the second toughest start of everyone, and we were 15th or something. So we knew that we'd had an half-decent start. We've now got to make these next 10 games count. So we're going along all right, and we've just got to make sure we continue.